This is the Ink Pulp Podcast. Welcome to the Ink Pulp Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Crystal. This week on this episode, we have a sample chapter of Inkpulp Instruction. This episode starring Sean Murphy. Inkpulp Instruction is a business I started. It's an online school teaching you how to become the comic book artist of your dreams. I host many episodes myself, and I have many episodes with guest artists like Sean Murphy, Jim Mahfood, Eric Canetti, Tommy Lee Edwards, Jeff DeKyle, and others to come. So click the link in the little description down below, but first check out this free sample chapter from Sean Murphy. Peace.
Page, whatever. Wow. So, this is to do this city. I had to figure out where the highways went, where like the overpass clovers are. Draw a few here's a really high bridge, whatever, it's the future. Then it was like just bullshit grids in mark making, like thin line, thick line, thin line, thick line, thin, and then coming later, and it's like this middle section, thick. It's just patterns, just changing up patterns, right. And they're so far away, it just reads as a building. But you got to do more than that, so it's like I'll leave an empty spot for an advertisement or a big brutish style cement building with no windows, and then of course the pyramid, and then there's just organized bullshit. Like those lines are no different than what you just saw me doing. Right. And then like the noodly stuff here is fun. I did struggle on the rooftops, like how to make it slightly in different perspective.
Like but if you had to draw Narcos, that would be an issue.
Yeah, like this would only work in a. I would take a different approach if I was drawing Narcos. But for this, like, it's actually a lot easier than it looks. But I just found a way to, like, start with the highways, do drop shadows underneath the overpasses that look really convincing when you look back, stuff like that. And then I'll add, like, white lens flare lights with white ink just to give it another layer. And then I mush with my thumb against the ink to create darker effects, and then I'll go with white ink to make haze, just a little bit of it reflecting off the blimp up there. And it's tough for colorists because this is such a complicated mess of lines that sometimes colorists don't know what to do with all that.
Right.
When a lot of people say that they like my stuff uncolored, and I think that's why, is I'm not leaving colorists any room. Whereas a lot of mainstream artists need to be colored. Right. And I get it, and I'm not criticizing at all. It's just that, I don't know, I was just raised to try to not need a colorist.
Well, you come from, I think the tradition of cartooning, because of the history of printing, is steeped in black and white art. And I think you and I have such a love and appreciation for some of the truly early days of comics, and also manga.
Right.
That, it's something I think about. We're dealing with a graphic storytelling medium, and if we look at a novel, it's basically a graphic storytelling medium. It's just the graphics in the novels are letters.
Right.
So you don't see like rainbow colored text.
Right.
It'd be hard to read.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's a tradition unique to cartooning, and one that is great to celebrate and try to keep it alive. I know we've been talking about throughout the weekend, like me moving into writing and drawing my own stuff. I think I'm going to do it black and white.
Yeah, man, I would.
Are you doing plot holes black and white?
I have an artist edition that's printing the raw scans. Right. The next book I do after Batman, got that one. I'm going to do black and white version for 50, and then I'll do a color version for 40. Because I'm learning that the collectors will pay more for no color interference.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't make as much on plot holes as I wanted, as far as like what I can take home. And finally, someone was like, "Dude, you're," his words, not mine. "You're a top talent in the industry. There's no reason why you should be trying to beat other people's prices. People will pay a premium for your shit.
That's exactly
So
right.
next time you do, like, don't be shy about asking for more. Who cares what a handful of people online say? You
Yeah,
know?
I feel like with what we're doing, I mean, just for example, like the commissions I just got, I would have never asked for that a year ago.
Right.
And it just took me asking for that to get it.
Yeah.
That's, just learning your value, I guess. But yeah, I think when it comes to like all the DIY stuff that we're really getting into,
Yeah.
it's the Wild West. Like people don't have an expectation of price. I mean, I see people like doing Kickstarters where their floppy is like $13,
Yeah.
and people are like, no problem.
Yeah. I felt like, oh, I don't want to gouge my customers, and I don't need to protect my customers that much. They seem to be fine.
Right, and I don't know that it's gouging.
Yeah.
It's well, the market allows it, so
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily gouging there. But
100%.
also, if you're just you or a couple people self-publishing a comic, that cost goes into making it in a different way than it does
Right.
a Batman book.
Yeah. All right, Barbara. What are you
So
wearing?
what made you pick up the nib just now?
I wanted to go in and noodle with the detail here, like her, and I wanted to hit all these guys.
So do you find that the Slixie pen is more just to kind of map out
Yeah.
the stuff and then you can render it in ink
Right.
with the nib? I got you.
Like the Slixie lines are still there, but with these lines now around them, they look like they're all quill.
Right.
Now it doesn't,
Right.
whatever dull mechanic vibe those lines have is now covered up, because this tool can be a mess in a good way, you know?
Right.
So I'm also debating on changing the nib. I tend to be a cheapskate with this stuff. Like I'll try to get everything I can out of a nib to the
Yeah.
point where it even fucks up the art. And I'm like, no, 2 more days.
Yeah, that's something I wrestle with nibs. They're fresh out the pack. They're so sharp and then they dull so fast.
Yeah, especially on medium. This paper's semi-smooth, so it's got
Right.
a little bit of grit. It's like inking on fine sandpaper.
Right.
So here's the organized chaos part. I know there were 2 spotlights underneath the chassis of the car
Right.
or whatever, so there they are. And it's going to be black all around it, so we just put some of that in there. Now make sure I like the shape. I'm picking up crud, but I'm just sort of letting it.
And what you're doing now, that's allowing for when you come in with brush to have a little, like, those outlines aren't so thin now, so you don't have to worry about running over them.
Yeah, just like everything out here is just all these X's will be black.
Mm-hmm.
While I'm here, I just spotted the hand, which is an area I can use the quill on. Do you hold your breath a lot when you ink?
I used to, and I learned the power of the like exhale.
Yeah. Snipers do that to steady their hands.
Oh, really?
When a sniper takes a shot, he'll exhale because it's steadier, and then he'll pull the trigger.
Yeah, when I have to do like a long single pull on a brush,
Yeah.
I just and I'll even close my eyes. Like I'll map the mark I'm gonna make, and a lot of times closing my eyes, I just feel it, and the line is more accurate from it.
Yeah. I don't know if snipers will close their eyes, though.
No, I don't think that.
Not on my tax dollar. I'm going to hit this with a broken brush later. These lines are just to guide the direction.
Right.
Some of them might make it through. I don't know. This is probably all going to be black, but I'm curious if maybe something else will pop out to me and be like, oh, maybe I can leave that part white.
Right.
Not sure yet. But worst case scenario, I can just make it all black. He's more squinty than I wanted, but I can fix that later with white. Oh yeah, cops. Come here, pigs.
The what?
I said, come here, pigs. Okay, so that's black. He's got gun, white pad on the holster. He's got Batman shaped knee pads. This is black.
I mean, you know how to get in there and draw small, and it just works. It still is like alive and sketchy, but reads well.
Thanks, man. Batman. There's also the letters GTO on their thighs, so that's why I'm leaving these 3 squares. It's another like anchor point for the eye.
Right.
So I was gonna do the guns black, but I don't know if I'll need to. So I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. Maybe at the end I'll just leave them pure white shapes and it'll be artistic or whatever. Take some creative artistic license or whatever you call it.
Graphic design.
Thank you. This is why you're a real teacher. This is a great way to get hand cramps too.
Yeah, I would say so. I just think doing comics, that's inevitable. I guess unless you work at like Paul Pope size.
Yeah. He must never worry about a shitty brush. He could use a 2-inch brush and get fine lines out of it.
Yeah.
He draws so large.
Yeah.
But I find that selling art, it's such a large piece people are buying that they're like, ooh, where am I going to hang that? Thinking it's a massive frame. And actually, for me, I don't know if I would sell as much.
You don't think?
I mean, I might do a few just and make it like Sean draws the biggest pages ever and sell it as a gimmick or whatever, but I don't know if I would, just buy a huge desk, bigger pieces of paper. Where do you even get paper that big? I have no idea.
You buy sheets. I mean, you can buy all the Bristol board you get in sheets.
Yeah.
Like larger sheets. You just don't buy pads of it.
Right.
But, I mean, I just, like doing the larger commissions I've taken, I've enjoyed that size, but
yeah.
I think working comics that size wouldn't work well for me.
So my nib is not the sharpest, and it's picking up gunk, but it's sort of adding something to it that isn't totally turning me off yet. So I'm going to just keep riding this out. Kind of sick of these dudes, to be honest.
Getting tired of them. So will you muscle your way through finishing them now, or just come back to them?
No, I've only got 3 more. I'll just bite the bullet. Good. There's 3, I think I mentioned this yesterday. There's 3 books about Batman in the works now that deal with police brutality and BLM.
You didn't talk about that.
Yeah, so when I set out to do this, I was like, I want to do good cops and I want to do bad cops. I want a book that police will enjoy.
Right.
Not that my angry, outraged liberal friends will approve of.
Right.
Because I've got cop readers, cop friends, cop family, and I'm like, hey man, it's a shitty job, and good cops hate bad cops too.
Right.
So I wanted to try to have a balanced approach to it, and it didn't seem like any of the other creators working on these books are gonna do that. I think they're just gonna be like,
Anti-cop.
cops bad. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when they were like, oh, so and so is also doing a book that deals with this topic, and I'm like, I sound like a dick for a second. First of all, I'm gonna outsell that dude. Second of all, he's gonna do a one-sided type of book, and that's cool. And I'm gonna do one that real people can enjoy, police can enjoy,
right.
and that will stand the test of time better.
Were they trying to convince you to change your story, or they were just?
No, they know better than that. My editor knows I'm a liberal, but I have centrist, leanings every now and then. So she knows she's a full-on liberal, and she knows not to push back on me with that stuff because she knows I don't care about wokeness and stuff all the time.
Right, right.
Now, if I was really a top-notch professional, I would change my nib right now, but I'm lazy.
I find it fascinating that a lot of my inking decisions are based on laziness.
Yeah.
I don't feel like pulling out a nib. I'll just do it with the brush.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I got to the point where, like, even with rulers, I use a ruler and a brush now.
Yeah.
I think it was just laziness. I don't feel like taking the time to switch it to another tool. I'll just keep going.
Right. It'll be funny at the end. You can see, Sean had all the energy. Sean's losing energy. Sean's getting tired. Sean's not giving a shit. Sean's ready for a drink. Sean should be done by now.
Sean's had a drink.
Yeah.
First sip of whiskey. Second sip.
Do you ever feel bad for your colorists? Like if you're slowing down, adding detail, you're like, this guy's going to hate me for this panel.
No, I think that my work is so, I guess I'd say clean and controlled that every colorist I've ever worked with, will take a minute to email me a thank you for making their job easier.
Oh, good. I'd never gotten one of those.
But I also think, and this is something that's in your work, I think one of the things, because I've talked to a few of the colorists, And they're like, you pay attention to consistent light sources. You pay attention to,
Yep.
the tone of the scene you've set. You're setting up compositions where it's like my drawings and my panels inform them exactly what it needs. Like
Yeah.
they're not fighting against it to make sense of it. It's like, oh, I know exactly what to do here.
Right.
Sean basically described it. And I'm sure that's the same with you. Like
Yeah.
there's no
I
room to
try.
render in your work.
Yeah.
And you light your scenes very specifically and intentionally and
Yeah.
pay attention to it.
I've gotten. Well, the people that I've worked with who I pay or DC pays, they don't seem to care.
Right.
I have friends who are colorists who I haven't worked with, and they're like, there's nothing fun to color in your work. You did all the work. Like, give me a nice open thigh with some wrinkles and let me render some wrinkles.
Yeah, but
And I'm like, nope, I'm rendering the wrinkles. You just make it flat. And they're like,
right.
fuck.
But I think a really skilled color artist isn't looking for the wrinkles. They're looking at the big picture, the scene colors and shifts of
Yeah.
colors for narrative purposes. So they're not looking to show off with rendering stuff. And I'm really just bored with the look of modern.
Yeah. It's like a Skittles factory exploded on
Yeah.
every page.
Yeah. And look, it's like they're adding depth and dimension and making these things drip with like cool shit, but it
Yeah.
doesn't add clarity to the image most of the time, and it just creates a pool of noise.
Right. I don't know I think I was talking to Ryan Otley once,
Yeah.
talking about drop shadows. Because I'll draw every shadow. Like, I don't have an outline. A guy standing down, and there's a light source. People will draw an outline of him cast on the street behind him, and they'll fill that with color.
Right.
I black that shit in. Or
Me too.
they don't even draw his outline. They just let the colorist draw a vague, darker spot on the ground or whatever.
Right.
And I'll everything has a drop shadow, even this arm, which I haven't added yet. Everything, like, drop shadows are part of the deal. And Ryan Otley didn't do that, or he used to do it, but he doesn't. I don't remember what he was saying. At the time, he was a Mormon, so he was sober, and I wasn't. But yeah, when I look at his stuff now, I'm like, man, that's so brave to, like, not do the work for the colorist. Like, how aren't you worried the colorist is gonna fuck you?
That's exactly what I don't want a colorist rendering.
Yeah.
So few of the colorists can.
Yeah.
But I remember the first time I got a colorist who could render it, and
Yeah.
they didn't do a lot of it. It was mainly flat color, but when they did, I was like, oh, nice touch.
Yeah. Like, I find most coloring takes a toll on my stuff. It doesn't enhance my stuff at all.
Right.
And it's really hard
Right.
to. That's what makes me kind of want to go black and white.
Yeah.
Is
yeah,
I have
me
no one to
too.
blame but myself, you know.
And with like Zipatone, you can create such a rich
Yeah.
experience visually. But also coloring myself on my covers, like I have, I don't render on top of myself. It's like, oh, it's done in the ink. So
Right.
I feel like any colorist coming in and trying to render, it's almost like their ego is like, I got to show off.
Yeah. I think that's why writers add voiceover balloons, or boxes, because they want to show off their wizardry and wordsmith
Right.
abilities. It's like, all right, man, but this is actually adding to the story?
Right.
Because the answer is usually a big fat no.
Right. There's a movie I would draw to answer your question.
Lebowski?
Yes. Actually, maybe most Coen Brothers movies.
I had to watch this movie 3 times before I got it. I was like, what the? I don't even know why I put myself through that so-called torture. And then when I moved to LA and I watched it for the time, I'm like, man, this is the best LA movie ever.
It's
just
LA noir.
these
Total
like
LA noir.
these people that are like left over from the '60s who don't have jobs. Like, what is going on here? In our neighborhood, I live right near the old location of Golden Apple.
Okay.
And there was a homeless guy dressed like Custer was his thing. He just dressed like Custer with a hat and kind of a slight cowboy, and he was he looked right out of a casting, honestly. Like, I don't know why he was homeless, because he had a good face. And then there was a crazy lady who did weird shit with balloons, and they started dating. And everyone in the neighborhood knew, like, oh my God, Custer's dating the crazy balloon lady. You would see them out and about, picking trash cans together and doing things that people who are homeless and in love do. And I don't know. It's one of my LA experiences.
Kind of a sweet story.
Yeah, I'm sure they both OD'd by now. Just to give it a happy ending.
That subtle Sean Murphy touch.
Yeah. Well, my stories, I kill off characters a lot, so I do the same in my storytelling. And they're probably dead. So the tank back there, I have this black suit he has, so I have to think about how these guns are gonna. I wish I hadn't darkened it in so much, honestly, but I can save that. What I might do is I can either fade it to go to white, and then I can allow the tank cast shadow to exist, or I can do like a hard line and just call it design.
Right.
I'm leaning towards a hard line because I have enough grays going on.
And then will you just leave a halo around the guns?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I might use whiteout right now to fix that. And maybe take a break.
All right, you want to take a break?
No, let's do something. Yeah. We're using white now.
Now, so if that hits some of the Slicksy pen, you're going to get that.
This will not, but the other stuff I use.
The deleter stuff?
Yeah, you got it.
Because there's more water in it.
So this is basically just a fancy rectangle. So I'll shrink the gun. I'll let the white stuff dry. Oh, that's lovely.
Oh, nice.
So yes on Slicksy now. Because I did that. Right. Now you can see the purple. So this will all be blacked in, so it won't be a big deal. I'll just let that dry. Even when this stuff looks like it's dry, you should still give it another 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
And because I have a radiator under the table, I can toast my page while I take a coffee break.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. Alan, can we get a shot? Do you want me to do it with my phone of just the page on the top of the radiator? Yeah. Comics. Hip hop. Life.